Thank you so much, Nicole, the amazing woman who put all of this together and brought it to Tulsa. Can we have another round of applause for her? Okay, so one of the reasons this topic grabbed me, I want to confess to you. I was one of those people that walked through life going, oh, I don't compete. But for a huge portion of my existence, I was competing. I just wasn't conscious of how my competitive drive was showing up. And I wasn't wielding my competitive sword in an intentional way. And because I wasn't doing that, I was losing games because of it. So this month's theme, Competencia, which is competition in English. It was chosen by our Santiago chapter in Chile. And the second I heard it, it grabbed me because also as an artist, competition has shaped every chapter of my life. And that might sound counterintuitive, but if you want to be a good artist, sometimes you have to go up against your fellow artists to get different opportunities. And you have to compete professionally. I'm currently building a brand called Dreams Only. And the whole guiding principle of that brand lives in the name, Dreams Only. There's nothing that'll put me in a depressive state faster than just living life on autopilot and not having any prospective dreams to look forward to, any growth on the horizon. So if I want to protect my joy and my motivation to exist, I have to treat my life like it is my wildest dream. And to keep that promise, I have to refuse to accept whatever inertia of everyday life hands me and go for something very big. And these are my words. This ain't AI, just so you know. So here's what people don't warn you about dreams, especially the artistic ones. For dreams, you have to chase them. And the bigger the dream, the more competition is going to come bundled within it. So I wanted to be in TV and film since I was a little girl. And when I went to Los Angeles for the first time as a child, when I saw the palm trees and even the way the dry heat hit my skin different than the humid heat in DC, I was like, I want to be here and I want to work in TV and film. So as soon as I turned 19, deuces DC, left my hometown, and I moved to Los Angeles to pursue TV and film on camera and behind the camera. And to be clear about LA and what LA represents, it's not just one of the most competitive TV film markets in the United States. That's one of the most competitive TV and film markets in the entire world. And personally, I believe that if you want to establish significant footing in whatever your industry is, you need to be familiar with where it is most competitive so you can build yourself appropriately as a competitor and you know where you stand on the world stage and not just the small stage of your hometown. So living in this competitive place taught me some of the most profound lessons I could ever learn about myself and my industry. Okay, so we can back all the way up. What is competition? Because most of us just think of sports, but competition is literally, it's everywhere. It's in academia, it's in dating, it's in the office, it's when we're in the kitchen making that potato salad and we want it to taste better than what Auntie did last time. When we get dressed in the morning, because we want to be the best dressed, it's in every room we walk into. So the textbook version is something like, the drive to outperform others or surpass your own limits to reach something scarce, a goal, a resource, or you want a certain status. So the interesting part about competition, because you know me, I was like, I don't compete, but we're biologically wired to compete. It's not a narcissist thing in some cases. A lot of competitive drive is just biological evolution. At the same time, some of it is also environment. And that's what determines whether we express our competitive drive in a healthy or unhealthy way. But it's good to be conscious of how we are wired and conscious of exactly how that shows up. So that was a lesson that I found out when I was chasing acting in LA. So we all have the capacity to compete, but if you pay attention, we're all different. You know, some people are super competitive, some people are more chill, and competitive drive kind of sits on this spectrum. So back when I was in DC, honestly, I wasn't that competitive at all. All the things that I wanted, you know, the boys, the opportunities, the lead in the school play, the Parasuco jeans, most of these things, they just came naturally to me. My drive for competing was very low because everything I wanted was easily handed to me. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and then I wanted some of those same things there. The guys, the love, the professional opportunities, affordable housing. But I was in a different market, so it wasn't easy. So while I was there, one of the things I wanted to pursue was commercial acting, which also wasn't easy. And this time, instead of going up against people at my high school, I was going up against the cream of the crop as far as professional talent and perceived beauty by American standards. By Hollywood standards. And it was the arena that I learned my first lesson in competition. And that is compete consciously. In every arena of your life, compete consciously from a place that you actually choose to compete from. So I'm gonna tell you what happened with me. So I started out in commercials. I sent out, I don't know how many letters to different agencies trying to get picked up so I could even get into the room. And after a brutal number of rejections, I can't even remember how many, finally this agency called Osbrink picked me up. And it was a pretty big agency at the time, so I was really stoked about it. And I remember the first time I had a meeting with my agent, and I'm all, coming in there happy. And the first thing she told me I needed to do, in the spirit of Los Angeles, she's just like, you need to lose about 25 pounds, just like in the movies. And this was a Black female telling me this. And just for perspective, I was about 25 to 30 pounds lighter than I am now. So that was the standard. She said I looked too regular, because I walked into a new market with new standards without ever deciding that is what I wanted to do or that's what I knew was coming up for me. So I started auditioning for some of the biggest brands on the planet. That's not a hyperbole, like real Apple, Sony. And when I looked around in the audition room, I started seeing all of these stunning women, more like glamorous, Hollywood glamorous than what I was used to seeing in my everyday life in DC. I was going up against actresses from sitcoms that I grew up watching, girls who did actual Vogue spreads, and I would go into audition after audition, and honestly, I couldn't book shit. And my self-esteem just started to drop with every audition. I would walk into the room and I would see all of the beautiful women and my self-esteem would drop. So after losing a lot, my competitive drive just kicked in. But it kicked in unconsciously from inside of my broken self-esteem. My competitive drive said, okay, you gotta beat them. Look at your face. Your face isn't good enough. Look at these other girls. You gotta go get all this expensive makeup. So I remember going to this store, Namie's. I didn't even go to Sephora, forget Sephora. I went to Namie's because that's where the professional makeup artists get all their makeup. Went to Namie's, got all this makeup, started YouTubing contour makeup so I can be as pretty as them. Then I was like, look at your clothes. These girls are wearing designer clothes. So then I started spending way too much on clothes so I could wear the $300 dresses that they were wearing. And so I walked into every audition trying to be the prettiest girl in the room. And for anyone who's ever been to LA, that's a fool's errand. And I'm not saying that, it's a fool's errand anywhere, but especially in LA. So after all of that, after all the makeup and the clothes, I actually got dropped by my agency because I still couldn't book anything, even while trying to keep up with the beautiful Joneses. And that's where the first lesson, compete consciously, hit me. I never once said to myself, Jasmine, you're competing to be the prettiest girl in the room. But that entered my lived experience and I started competing from that place of broken self-esteem because I had never focused my efforts on what I should be competing for. I didn't recognize the insecurity that I was carrying into each room by way of my competitive drive. And instead of competing to be the best version of Jasmine, I was just trying to walk in and I ended up just being a discount version of all the other girls in the room. So that's when I competed, that's when I realized my competitive drive, I had missed the whole game. I was competing to fit in when the whole part of the game was to stand out. So luckily, after a lot of failures, a smaller agency picked me up. And this time I remembered the scarcity. I remember what happened. So my competitive drive came back, but this time it came back with awareness. So I sat down with Jasmine and I asked myself consciously, okay, how are we gonna compete? How are we gonna get this spot amongst hundreds and sometimes thousands of girls? How are we gonna stand out? And the revelation that came to me was it was very funny, because I was just like, the last time you were competing to be the prettiest girl in the room, but questioning you, what is special about a pretty girl in a room with a bunch of pretty girls? Absolutely nothing. So I stopped competing to be the prettiest girl in the room. I studied with the best commercial teachers in the city, because a lot of times when things come too easy, which it does for pretty girls, they don't focus as much on skill. So that was gonna be a part of my competitive edge. I was gonna be the most skilled in the room. Fuck the pretty face. I wanted to stand out. Then the day came when my agent sent me out for a huge Nissan spot that was gonna be airing during football season, one that would run all season. So the character was the cool girl. And if anybody knows me, I'm like, cool as fuck. So this time I competed intentionally. I'm like, I'm gonna play the opposite card. So instead of walking in that room, I knew a lot of the other girls, we're going for a Nissan football thing. Pretty girls can't not be pretty. So I knew that's gonna be their edge. So I walked in like, you know what? I'm gonna come in there with makeup for what energy? That's gonna be my competition. Little makeup, drop the makeup, hair in a ponytail, white t-shirt, as anti-glam as possible, to the point it's gonna make me stand out in a room of girls trying to be glamorous. And I had one goal on and off camera, and that's to be the coolest motherfucker in that room. On and off camera, I was gonna charm those casting directors, I was gonna be cool in my audition, and I was gonna let every single one of those other girls focus on being the prettiest girl in the room while I competed consciously for something else. And then I want you to see what happens when you compete consciously. I guess the sound. Well, in a perfect world, you'd be able to hear the commercial. But I think you get the point. Yes. Okay, and so that's a part of the first lesson in 30 seconds. I didn't win at being better at someone else's game. I won by playing my own game and being conscious of what the goal post should have been when I was competing, and competing consciously for my desired goal. And once I saw that, just how detrimental it can be in your life when you're competing for the wrong thing that's in opposition to what you actually want, I started seeing that everywhere. A lot of people around me in every arena, I started noticing how they have no clue how they're competing. It's in our evolutionary biology, trust me, but you want to know definitively how your competitive drive shows up, because competition can be life-changing when it's exercised consciously and positively, or it can quietly sabotage everything that you want in life. So take the dinner table. I see a lot of us want to be liked and loved and admired. I watch people want to be liked and loved and admired so badly that they're at the dinner table competing for every ounce of attention in the room. They monopolize the whole conversation, unknowingly competing to be the best storyteller and the best talker, when the fastest way to someone's heart is to be the best listener, to be the best empathizer, to show people you can be there for them. Why not compete for that? And when you meet those people, sometimes you're sharing your funny story or what you've done or your accomplishment. They can't even sit with you because they're so busy trying to top your story with their own. Well, oh, this happened to me. Yet they want to be liked, loved, and admired by their peers around them, but they're competing for the wrong thing. Same thing in the office. You got people who want a promotion, but instead of competing to be the person that their coworkers actually want leading them, they compete to be the loudest expert in the room. They compete to be the know-it-all at the company. They try to tell other people how to do their jobs. And raise your hand, anyone in the room, if you like a know-it-all. No one. Yet that's what so many people compete to be when they want to be raised up by their peers. And in dating, Jesus. Woo! And the current pool is, well, you know, I don't really have an adjective for it, but I watch people compete by being this very like pseudo impressive version of themselves. They show up to dates kind of reciting these overused mantras. Oh, I'm dating with intention, because you're dating for serious. And then they'll treat the first date like it's some kind of transaction, asking people questions like it's a job interview. And when you think about it, again, who wants someone that feels like another job? No one. But that's what so many people are competing for. A lot of love is birthed when people show up at a dinner table with joy and genuine curiosity, the real laugh, and they just come with themselves, being their real selves, and they just let a conversation unfold organically and beautifully. And that's where love flourishes. And honest, vulnerable versions of who we are, not the stuffy, controlled, guarded versions of ourselves that we built out of past pain. Yet that's what a lot of people are competing with. So, what is a way in which you're competing right now?